I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Welcome to the Saturday Morning Community Forum. We have so much to share with you, but today we want to do a special on Haiti. We want you to understand why it is Reverend Jackson continuously says we owe a debt to the island of Haiti, the country, the nation of Haiti. And so when you see the Afghan refugees being brought here on our planes and they come in as refugees, the Haitians are struggling to get here as migrants. You saw the horrific, the man on the horseback took us back to the slave days, but you and I need to go all the way back so you and I can understand, what does Haiti mean to America? What has Haiti done for America? Well, Reverend Jackson is going to share that historical frame of reference so that you'll never again not appreciate the Haitian community, the island of Haiti, for what they have offered in terms of our freedom and the freedom of this country that we hold so dear.
We have a real indebtedness to Haiti that is not generally recognized. Look for the Battle of Savannah. How the Haitians joined the battle to help free Georgia, free America. Haitians going outside the American Revolution. I want to get that, copy that to the press. So when we were down and out, Haiti was helped to free Georgia, helped to free America. It's the poorest nation in our hemisphere. America exploited it till it could exploit no more. France, I've urged that President Biden and President Macron of France and the Pope get involved because they're mostly Catholic, they're mostly French speaking, heavily involved in the French culture because they were under French colonialism for so long. Haiti was the first black nation in the world to be freed from slavery. The pearl of the Western world, Haiti. All of Africa was under some form of colonialism by the British, by the French, or by the Dutch. Haiti freed itself. When the Americans were under slavery, African Americans, Haiti freed itself. Louis defeated Napoleon in Haiti and won that war and freed Haiti. The reparations had to pay France, and hurt them for a long time, but they're the pearl of the black world. I also want to say that the founder of Chicago, DeSable, Haitian. So we are a great debt to Haiti as a nation.
We are reminded of Chicago's connection to Haiti with every mention of DuSable Lakeshore Drive, named for the city's first non-Indigenous resident, Haitian-American Jean-Baptiste Pointe DuSable. 2 out of 3 being returned to Haiti from the U.S. border are women and children. Some Chicagoans with personal connections to Haiti say they are feeling the pain of those trying to come to the United States.
I can't believe this is the United States of America. You can present yourself at a border in another country and ask for asylum and then go through their process. They're not even allowing these people to do that. So that's what's, and it makes you wonder why, right? Why are the Haitians being treated that way?
We're really not a group of people that are here to impose on the economy of the United States. We are here to fulfill and enhance the economy of the United States.
Some watch that the U.S. envoy to Haiti resigned to protest the treatment of Haitians at the border.
Hopefully we can do better and welcome our neighbors, because Haiti is our neighbor.
Haiti was there for them in 1937. We opened our borders for you. Now we need you to speak up for us.
So I want America to remember we have stood for them and next to them in their fight for their own independence.
Stand with us, because Haiti isn't going anywhere.
Today we must stand together and fight for our people now and for our future generations. I I implore the women of Congress for the rebuilding and redevelopment of Haiti, because the United States of America and the entire Western world owe a debt to Haiti.
Migrants are treated differently than refugees. And the reason why the migrants are treated differently than refugees is because they don't have any status in the United States. They are seeking status in the United States. They are seeking to become refugees. And in the United States, our immigration laws very, very complicated. And they actually have to pass the first step, which is to establish that there's a credible fear of returning to Haiti. Some of them have come from Chile, some of them have come from Brazil, some of them have come from other parts of Central and South America, and therefore they haven't been in Haiti most recently. And so establishing that first step, credible fear, is hard for them to do. And so they're placed in expedited removal proceedings and then put on a plane and then sent back to Haiti. Now, if they're able to establish that, then they have an opportunity to seek what is called asylum. Asylum allows you to establish your status as a refugee in the United States, actually internationally, because the United Nations has created this definition of what a refugee is. Race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or a political opinion. If you can establish that you're a refugee, then that is how you will be able to then get Medicaid, medical assistance, refugee assistance, food, shelter, clothing, all different types of things. And then, of course, then you can come and become an immigrant, like my parents, like Daphne at the end of the table, where then you can get on a pathway to citizenship, immigrant meaning the green card, you know? And so that is why these migrants who have been duped, bamboozled by other people in the international communities and gotten them here, they still need an opportunity to seek asylum. That's what they should be given, that opportunity.
I know we are doing something illegal, he said, but we're looking for a better future. If you realize what Haiti looks like now, the earthquake, the assassination of the president, gangs fighting for power, they forget about the people, so the people run away.
All they're trying to do is escape from violence in their country. And we're saying to the president and everybody else, you got to stop this madness.
We can give $2 trillion to Afghanistan on a failed war, and bring them to America as refugees, the migrant, the asylum, the refugee. They come as refugees. They come getting all America has to offer to the social justice priorities. So we want refugee status for these Haitians. The president was killed a few months ago, and the prime minister is a suspect in the case. There's no functional government in Haiti. So send them back after the earthquake, already in crisis. Around the crowd, people have not been there for long, and some people in Brazil 3 or 4 years trying to get to America.
Because of the lack of economic opportunities in Haiti, because of the instability in our political, so we also want to address how there are organizations here who are willing, who are ready to help. And so if the Haitian migrants get the opportunity to come and seek asylum, we will be here. We are here. We want to help. Give us the opportunity to help, and they will not be a burden to the United States. And my personal immigration history is that my family came here because of when there was a lack of medical providers here in the US. And so my grand-aunt husband was a doctor in Haiti, and he came here as a nurse to fulfill the shortage that was here in the US. So he came here to serve, and he did that until he retired at Cook County Hospital. And so here I am, a Haitian American, contributing to this country. I have my son here, Wisdom, James Wisdom, and we are a loving family, we are respectful people, we are hard workers, and we are just looking for a chance to live the life that every human being should live.
We want the migrants, to be given the opportunity to be COVID tested, as well as given the vaccine. It's been reported that we have millions of vaccines that are set to go to waste. The Haitian people are being deported into Haiti,
and not vaccinated. So we already have a country that has tremendous amount of problems right now, and we've already deported, it's been reported that we've deported over 1,400 people. Imagine deporting 1,400 people and if they had COVID, and now that's been released into the Haitian country. The other thing that we're asking for is TPS to be expanded. TPS, temporary protected status, was granted to Haitians that were in the United States in May. It went into effect on August 3rd, 2021. We are asking that it be expanded to include the Haitians that are here currently that do not have status, to be given status, to be given TPS status at the time. Our third call of action is that we're asking local people to call on your local legislators and ask that there be a pathway to citizenship for the Haitian people. What is happening right now is deplorable, it's inhumane. We're asking that people be treated fairly and humanely, because we are people first. It doesn't matter where you come from.
It would be short-sighted to think that this treatment or the policies associated with this treatment started last week or even the week before that. These policies, this treatment, and the disregard with which we've seen the Haitian people treated is rooted in the peculiar institution that we refer to as slavery and our marred history with race relations in the United States. I say that because the Haitians, when they overthrew the French, there was an effort by the United States to prevent that from happening. There was also an effort to disassociate that with what was going on with slavery in the U.S., because they knew that the strength gained by the Haitians would impact the U.S. slaves. And so when you look at that history, you understand all of the things that have happened since then, from the taking of fertilizer to the treatment, and I would say the disparate treatment in the Haitians who have attempted to seek asylum here because of weather events, because of dictatorships, because of political asylum seeking, because of all of the things that leave that nation in abject poverty. Yet we find it in our collective governmental will to take in everyone else except the Haitians. And so we're simply saying that it is time for America to pay a debt that is owed to the Haitians. This isn't about giving foreign aid, although that's important. This is about what is owed to a country that has been taken from over the course of centuries. It starts with a congressional hearing. It starts with accountability in the executive branch. And it starts with ensuring that the immigration policy that is practiced by this country is applied in an even-handed way. And it is the Chicago Urban League's position, as also held by the National Urban League, that Haiti must be treated fairly by the United States of America. What we've seen to date does not support that treatment.
An impromptu border camp was emptied of thousands of Haitian migrants, with most remaining in the United States for now, and others expelled on deportation flights or returned to Mexico.
This comes after images of U.S. border guards on horseback used reins like whips against Haitian migrants near their camp, sparked widespread outrage across the U.S. over the past week. The Biden administration has faced backlash after the contentious use of expulsion flights back to Haiti. Mexico has also sought to bus and fly Haitians to its southern states, far from the U.S. border. The U.S. government in May extended temporary protection from deportation to Haitians in the United States, citing a political crisis, rights abuses, crime, and lack of access to food, water, and health care in the Western Hemisphere's poorest country.
In terms of economic opportunities, and every time I think of rice, I think of Haiti. Every time I wear an orchid, I remember Haiti. Jonathan Jackson went to the border, and he's going to share a report from the border. We want you to know that African Americans, Haitian Americans are doing what they can to help Haiti. We're not shipping anything to Haiti at this moment because Haiti has some internal conflicts that make it difficult for products to get to the people that need them the most.
I would like to give you a report upon my return from Del Rio, Texas, this past week, where we went to see the Haitian immigrants that were coming to America to seek asylum, to seek refuge. Their country has been rattled by the 2 major earthquakes in the last 10 years. Many people have been displaced for the last 10 years. And now they've made their way up through Chile, in large part through the Central American, Pan American corridor, and they came to Del Rio. These persons had been given false information that was advertised that they could come to America upon a low border crossing. They were deceived, although they had the rights to seek refuge, to seek asylum. That's part of our law. Their president most recently had been assassinated, and they're seeking a better life, like all other immigrant families that have come here from Greece, from Italy, from France, from the UK. They came here seeking a better opportunity. There were over 16,000 persons in Del Rio, and as opposed to being met with open arms and love and care and compassion, they were met with Border Patrol, ICE agents. As we've seen this uprising in Afghanistan, where we spent $2.5 trillion, we have an alliance. We should have an obligation to Haiti. They have fought with us during the Battle of Savannah in 1779. They were allied with the French to resist the British occupation in Savannah. Over 500 Haitians were there. Ever since 1791, better than 230 years ago now, since the first African republic successfully fought against colonialism, decolonialized themselves, Haiti has been punished by the American government. They have been punished by the Western Hemisphere. After 230 years, this is a shame. We can provide border security, fair elections in Haiti. We've overseen elections. We've overseen border security in Korea. We've seen border security in Germany. We owe that and so much more to Haiti. The Afghan president left under his own volition, flew away after $85 billion in U.S. Military training for their army that melted away in just a matter of a few hours. The Biden administration has asked for $6.4 billion to have resettlement of 95,000 persons from Afghanistan into America. But in the words of Reverend Martin Luther King, at the end of the day, it's not the words of your enemies that you remember, it's the silence of your friends. We've seen far too much silence from Democratic governors, from Democratic senators, even from the administration. These 16,000 persons should have open arms. They're Haitians, their president has been assassinated. They are the survivors of 2 major earthquakes, and in turn they have been met with armed forces and detention centers. Now we see mostly there were 16,000 persons that were down there in Del Rio. I saw with my own eyes very squalid conditions. There were no mats, no pallets, there were no tents that were provided for them. And many of the people that needed medical attention had respiratory issues because they were sitting on the dust and sitting in the dirt in a dust bowl while contractors were working around them. We're a better nation than this. We need to show more compassion. 11 babies were born down there in Del Rio from the account that I saw in this past week. 20 have been born in detention centers in Houston. These are now American citizens. So I would ask all of you to continue to support Rainbow Push. I was honored to be a part of the delegation with Reverend Al Sharpton and the National Action Network. I was honored to be with Reverend Frederick Haynes of Friendship West Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas. I was honored to be with Reverend Jamal Bryant. We will continue to keep fighting for you. Please stay in tune, and we will have work to do.
Bishop Grant is going to share with you some of the programs that we are working on. Next week, we're going to give you a full report, in part, on the programs that Push Excel, Citizenship Education Fund. I know you're wondering, what do y'all do every single day? Well, what we do is push for you. I understand that in some cities and states, based on this Delta variant, many schools are going back to remote learning. We want to let you know that Push Excel is planning to launch a virtual homework hotline to make sure our students are engaged and learning. We want to help schools. If you have some questions or suggestions, we're calling on retired teachers. You don't have to do absolutely nothing. Call us if you're willing to volunteer with Push Excel. We need you and become a part of our Saturday school program. But we want to keep you informed, want to keep you inspired, want to get you engaged. Pushing for you is what we do, and we're keeping hope alive.
This is Bishop Tavis Grant, the National Field Director for the Rainbow Push Coalition. And I want to thank you for joining our International Saturday Morning Forum. You know, as the work of Jesse Lewis Jackson continues, we want you to know we're keeping hope alive. This week, we are so impressed with the progress that Reverend Jackson has made, and we're just excited to have him back up and on the field in the fight for civil rights. You know, this week, as the moratorium on rent and rental assistance comes to an end, we are praying and supporting the countless numbers of people who have been impacted by this economy and the pandemic. And if there is a way that we can help you, we want you to go to rainbowpush.org or call us here in Chicago at 373-3366, Freedom on your dial. And of course, we have our eyes on Beaumont, Texas. You know, you saw the egregious images of horsemen, Border Patrol horsemen riding up on women and children using ropes and whips. And yet in Beaumont, Texas, there's a beloved brother by the name of Christopher Shaw, who has been accosted and brutalized in the same way of Sandra Bland or Breonna Taylor or George Floyd. And Reverend Jesse Jackson and the Rainbow Push Coalition are demanding that the video be released immediately so we can have transparency, truth, and hold those accountable for leaving him paralyzed. Well, it's that time of the year where we're celebrating the 80th birthday of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, over 55 years of service, and we're doing something we haven't been able to do in months since this pandemic, and that's have an open in-person rally right here at the national headquarters, also known as Dr. King's Workshop. You can join us if you're in Chicago, if you're in Milwaukee, you're Columbus, Ohio, you're in St. Louis, you're in Louisville, Kentucky. You can get here within a few hours to celebrate one of America's hardest working civil rights leader, the icon, Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. We're going to do it, listen, October 9th. We're going to be right here all day long celebrating him and keeping the spirit of freedom alive. Go to rainbowpush.org and find out how you can participate and give a tribute. Go to our social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and always do your part. You can become a member even right now. Click the donate button. Guess what? We're in it to win it. And when we do it, we always do it better when we're together. Let's keep hope alive.
Good afternoon. I'm Attorney Robert Patil. I'm the Executive Director of the Rainbow Push Coalition Peachtree Street Project here in Atlanta, Georgia. I want to bring you guys a message regarding the recent activities at the southern border with Haitian migrants who have been, of course, you've seen the news, the images in the news, and who are seeking lawful asylum here in the United States of America. The Rainbow Push Coalition has been intimately involved with the Haitian American community, not just currently, but Reverend Jackson has decades of working together to try to bring political stability and to find ways to incorporate them into society here in America as they try to exercise their international rights to be treated with the types of human rights that are necessary and deserving of all of mankind. Joining us now to be part of this conversation, we're joined by Dr. Candace Matthews. Dr. Matthews, how are you?
I'm fine, and yourself, sir?
I am wonderful. Can you introduce yourself to the Rainbow Push audience?
Yes, hi, I'm Dr. Candace Matthews. I am the Texas Steering Committee Chair for Rainbow Push Coalition here in Texas. Hat number 2, I am also the statewide Harris County Accountability Chair for the Texas Coalition of Black Democrats, which is the Black Caucus.
Thank you so much for joining us. And can you talk a little bit about what is going on down in Del Rio, Texas, and how it's impacting the local community there?
Well, see, what's happening down in Del Rio, it's very catastrophic. It's something that we have actually never seen before of this magnitude. I mean, to the fact where you really didn't see Red Cross, to the fact where instructions wasn't really given to the families that were there. Then you having Haitian refugees having babies there. Then on top of that, it wasn't accessible for people to actually want to come to visit at the border to see what's happening. And then you have U.S. Border Patrol that on horses that's actually bringing us back to the Fugitive Slave Act era with whipping and taunting and hitting Haitian refugees. That is unacceptable. And it just really just took a shock pretty much here with us in Texas, because let's be clear, Texas, we are at ground zero with a lot of egregious bills and a lot of egregious activity under this current governor that we have by the name of Governor Abbott.
And with that, can you talk a little bit about kind of the human rights abuses happening at the border? Because we've seen many, both in government and in media, trying to downplay it, saying, well, they weren't whipping them, they were just riding their horses. It wasn't a whip, it was a split rein. What are the things that you were seeing there in Texas?
Like I said, what I was seeing in Texas was actually Haitian refugees who actually their civil rights was being violated, and it was just inhumane treatment being done at the border. So you can't just tell me that you're just on a horse and then you were whipping a horse. No, you were striking a Haitian refugee. Then on top of that, you have it to where you're splitting these families. Then on top of that, you have it to where it's no Red Cross. It's that you don't want the media to get all of what's actually happening. What are you hiding? You know what I mean? Because if you were not doing anything that was not humane to these people, why are you not being transparent? And seeing that's the problem that we're seeing is no transparency at all, and these people's rights are being violated, and it's unacceptable.
What do you think needs to be done, particularly by the administration? Because much of this is based upon federal policy. You stated, you have Governor Abbott there in Texas, who's part of the kind of the far right governors of a strong anti-immigration bend when it comes to migrants and asylum and refugees. However, the Biden administration during the 2020 campaign, they articulated that they would take a very different tack. So what do you think needs to be done by the administration at the border?
What needs to be happen, it needs to be immigration reform. Clearly what needs to happen here. And in Texas, we actually came up with a checklist of what we would like to see. We got with a lot of grassroots organizations, as well as a lot of pastoral pastors that were here. And what we did, we wanted to come up with a collective statement for humanitarian with all groups was one. Then we wanted to coordinate as far as with dealing with the Border Patrol with that officer that was on that horse for him to be expelled. And then also we wanted to have it to see as far as like, what would this process look like with asylum? You know what I mean? Because this is what we want. Then we wanted to actually elevate it to the national level in Washington, D.C. We actually wanted executive order to stop all deportation until these individuals can get processed. And then also we need to raise the moral profile here.
You know, I find it interesting you said raise the moral profile, because at the same time that Haitians were being whipped and brutalized at the border, the president of the United States was addressing the United Nations during the UN convention, talking about the need for human rights across the globe. And I think if you're going to talk about human rights across the globe, we have to address human rights here at home first. Joining in on the conversation now, we have advocate for the Haitian American community, Mr. Sledge Leonidas. Mr. Leonidas, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me. You know, it's been an interesting perspective on our end. We were able to process close to 2,000 migrants that came in from Del Rio on buses. Approximately 28 buses were received in the Houston Processing Center at NACC, who's the National Association of Christian Churches. Our organization partnered with them to be able to get the families to the next phase, the next step, from anywhere from buying plane tickets, feeding them, giving them a place to rest, showers, and the likes, just to give them that human element and dignity that they do deserve, so that they can properly process themselves, even from legal representation and the likes.
And can you talk a little bit about NACC and some of the other groups that are there on the ground actually providing humanitarian support for the migrants?
Our organization, Houston Haitians United, partnered together with NACC, who has a large facility that can house many migrants. And so they were able to receive them and welcome the Haitians in alongside of us. Or other organizations have given an outpour of contributions, whether that may be in monetary or goods that the migrants needed to be able to accommodate themselves while they were here in Houston at the facility.
I want to move to closing remarks on what you think people can do to get involved. I'll start with you, Dr. Matthews.
We've seen the crisis, what happened at that border. We've seen the atrocity that these people went through to try to gain asylum. We definitely need to be able to donate, to help, because they have children, they have themselves. And I mean, and it's like, who can imagine going through that long journey? I know I wouldn't be able to do it, but for them to be able to do that, to try to seek asylum due to what's happened in their country, we have to be empathetic. These people have been traumatized, and it's going to take a lot to normalize them from this atrocity.
I was a migrant myself, and, you know, here I am, you know, here talking on behalf of my people, because I had a chance to do so. And that's all we want. And we appreciate the love and the support, and we'll continue fighting the fight and representing the best that we can for Black people and people everywhere.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Candace Matthews, Mr. Sledge Leonidas, and on behalf of the Haitian American community. My mother is actually Haitian also, so I've understood these issues generation after generation. This has been American policy, regardless if it's a Republican or a Democrat in office. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Make sure you join the Rainbow Push Coalition, www.rainbowpush.org. We'll also be holding the Southeast Regional Conference, the 22nd Annual Creating Opportunity Conference, between October 14th and 15th. You can register for that at creatingopportunityconference.com. And as Reverend Jackson would say to end these sessions, make sure that you keep hope alive. Thank you so much.
Built off of hard work and sweat. This city is not only my city, but it's your city. This city thrives forward. The beauty of my city is in the people of my city. The beauty of my city is in the different ethnic groups, ethnic foods, neighborhoods from the south side to the skyline. This city is everything. The streets are where artists, poets, and magicians roam when they seek inspiration from this place. But this city has trouble sometimes, yes, this city cries. I can hear my city's woes when the wind blows every time another soul is lost to violence. This city has emotions in the deep depths of its lake, sending waves across the sand higher and higher each day, and the atmosphere is letting us know we have no time to waste. This is our city. Let's generate a generation of greatness through our youth. Together we can make everlasting change, because we all live here.
Close my eyes to the violence. Close the window to hatred. I will stand tall and sing my song and shut the door behind me. We can move forward. If united, we can't fall. This is our home. This is our home. This is our Break the barriers, tear the walls all down. Yeah, the time is now, 'cause we all live here. Stand up for your right, no one has to fight. Darkness into light, 'cause we all live here. We all live here. Look in your heart. Let's make a new start. Break the barriers, tear the walls all down. Yeah, the time is now, 'cause we all live here. Stand up for your right, no one has to fight. Darkness into light, 'cause we all live here. We all We all live here.
Hi, I'm Tim Lee, and today I want to talk to you about the Student Pledge. Every year, Push Excel and the Rainbow Push Coalition give thousands of pledge cards to thousands of students all over America. And this pledge is a 5-step pledge that I want to help you take today. So if you will repeat after me each of these steps. I will attend school daily and strive for excellence in all that I do. I will attend school daily and strive for excellence in all that I do. I will respect the authority of my parents and teachers. I will respect the authority of my parents and teachers. I will study 3 hours each night without interruptions from anything or anyone. I will study for 3 hours each night without interruptions from anything or anyone. I will read each day. I will read each day. And I will complete all classroom work and homework assignments. I will complete all classroom work and homework assignments. So friends, if you took that pledge today, first, congratulations. Second, I want you to send me an email at the email address below and let me know your name, the school that you go to, the city or your school is in, and your favorite subject. And we want to stay in contact with you to make sure that you have everything you need, one, to be successful in school, but also to be committed to these 5 points that you pledged to today. Listen, friends, I will see you next time. And until then, remember what we always say as we end, the words of Reverend Jackson: if your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, then you can achieve it. Until next time, I'm Tim.
We're excited to get more people involved in Rainbow Push, supporting the programs of Push for Excellence and the Citizenship Education Fund. If you're interested in impacting public policies, if you believe in the scholarships that we give to thousands of students each and every year, you can become a policymaker by becoming a member of Rainbow Push right now. For an annual membership of $35, or if you're a student or senior, $15, you can help us make a difference in the lives of millions. How do you become a member? Visit our website at rainbowpush.org and press join. Or maybe you'd like to support us. You can text the word PUSH, that's P-U-S-H, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give any amount you feel comfortable giving. You can also call us at 773-256-2775, or go to rainbowpush.org and push donate. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you.
I'm Todd Yeary. Welcome to this week's edition of Due Process. A new report published in the journal The Lancet has concluded that police violence is an urgent public health crisis in the United States, and that a review of deaths in police custody or deaths caused by police deadly force indicate a systemic problem that disproportionately affects certain races and ethnicities. The numbers point to an issue of systemic racism and a need for more complete data to be collected by law enforcement agencies. However, a review of the current available data indicates that police violence is underreported in the United States. The researchers reviewed governmental and non-governmental data sources and determined that almost 31,000 deaths from police violence occurred between 1980 and 2018. This represents 17,000 more deaths than had been recorded in the National Vital Statistics System. The report points out that while the federal government has tracked deaths from law enforcement using the NVSS since 1949, undercounting has only been a consideration in recent years. The Lancet editors also noted that policing in the U.S. continues to follow the trend of other racialized interactions that have been fueled by the war on drugs, hostilities toward homeless persons and the poor, and other problematic interactions with police. The collaborators in this public health study continue to confirm what the Kerner Commission report stated clearly in 1968. Unrest that is often triggered by police violence is an overt expression of persistent underlying inequality that is rooted in white racism. Clearly, this study points to more work that must be done to address police violence, including better data collection and a more comprehensive review of the residual effects of police violence on communities of color. The research was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the National Institute on Minority Health and Health Disparities, and the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. Meanwhile, the fight continues over police reform in the United States Senate. After negotiations reached a stalemate over key provisions of the George Floyd Justice in Policing bill, Senate Republicans have taken on a new tactic. They're now calling any requirement to implement police reforms as a condition of access to some federal resources an act of defunding police. The cries to defund or reimagine policing became a key consideration after incidences of death by police or deaths in police custody including among persons facing behavioral or mental health crises, became more frequent. Oddly, it is not uncommon that the federal government would place compliance conditions on funding opportunities. As a matter of fact, Senator Tim Scott, Republican of South Carolina, has supported restricting access to public funds for those state and local governments that refuse to comply with the enforcement and policy provisions of specific legislation. We've seen it recently in Republican-led states where governors have threatened to withhold education funding for school systems that impose a mask mandate in the middle of a pandemic, or attempting to withhold federal grant dollars for cities that have been called sanctuary cities. What is curious is now Senator Scott calls this type of requirement an effort to defund the police. However, in June 2020, former President Donald Trump, in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd and the national outcry for police accountability, signed an executive order that created new guidelines for police use of force and de-escalation tactics, and established a national database to track police misconduct. Some of the reforms in that executive order were tied to eligibility for Justice Department grants. So what gives? Inquiring minds want to know. In the meantime, all eyes are on Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clarke in the Civil Rights Division at the DOJ. It is her division that is responsible for conducting pattern or practice investigations into local police departments to determine whether officers are engaging in behaviors that violate the constitutional rights of people. As the Civil Rights Division prepares to deploy more attorneys to conduct departmental reviews, the nation still waits for the Congress to decide whether constitutional rights are worth protecting from bad policing. We will continue to wait for an answer to that question. This week, the Congress narrowly averted a government shutdown as a continuing resolution to keep government operations going was passed with mere hours to spare. The funding bill was signed by President Biden and will fund the federal government until December. The House version of a funding bill included a provision to suspend the debt ceiling until December of next year. However, the Senate version had no such language in it and leaves the question of raising the debt ceiling as the next political hot potato in Washington. Meanwhile, the fight over the infrastructure bills continues to cause great anxiety amongst communities who will benefit from the investment in the nation's physical infrastructure of roads, bridges, railroads, airports, and seaports, and the human infrastructure bill, which includes provisions for child care, early childhood education, free community college, elder care, and provisions to strengthen environmental protections. However, the fighting within the Democratic Party continues to make the timeline for moving on either piece of legislation questionable. While the $1.2 trillion physical infrastructure bill has bipartisan support, the current $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill has no Republican support, meaning the Democrats will need all 50 senators to get a bill to President Biden's desk under reconciliation. However, Senator Joe Manchin has set $1.5 trillion as his top line figure for any human infrastructure bill. But his cap on the total cost of the bill does not include an itemization of what would be funded and what would be cut out. Many believe that many of the provisions concerning climate change and the green economy would be a tough sell for Manchin, since West Virginia relies heavily on coal and other carbon-based energy production to support the state economy and local employment. So all eyes and ears are leaning toward Joe Manchin to see what his position will be concerning what many pundits argue might be the signature piece of legislation during the Biden presidency. For the rest of us, the fight for equity and justice continues. Here's where you can get involved in moving the needle on these issues and others, like voting rights, racial justice, student debt relief, and a fairer tax system that revises the Trump tax cuts that created an enhanced system of corporate welfare through tax provisions. Call your member of Congress at their local office or in Washington, D.C., and if you are on social media, find your member of Congress and let them know how you feel about the issues that affect you and your family. Gridlock is not acceptable, and failure is not an option. Your voice matters. Use it. And as always, keep hope alive. For more information about these issues and other areas of our work, and to join the movement by joining Rainbow Push Coalition, visit rainbowpush.org. Next week, I will be back with another edition of Due Process. I'm Todd Yeary.
Some of you saying, we want to know when you open. Well, come Saturday, October 9th. I want to see Reverend Jackson. Well, you will see him October 9th. He'll be in the place at 930 East 50th Street. Just come. You need to get here at 9:30, temperature check. We're going to make sure that you're wearing a mask. If you don't have one, we'll provide one for you. But we want you here to share at this birthday celebration with Reverend Jackson. 80 years of life, 60 plus, have been in public service. So he has spent all of his teen, young adult years fighting for you, serving you, keeping hope alive, rescuing hostages, even to this day, moving across the length and breadth of this nation and even around the world at even personal risk and peril. He keeps going, engaging in civil disobedience. So we're saying, those of you who watch this broadcast, those of you who love PUSH, and you want to support us, we're looking for you to bring Reverend Jackson a birthday present. What does he want? He wants you to be a member. He wants everyone you know to be a member. So you could bring him a bundle of PUSH memberships. That's a tremendous birthday present for him. He's not asking for jewelry. He's not asking for personal things. He's asking for you to support the organization that he founded and has carried these many years. You keep hope alive. We'll see you Saturday, October 9th, 9:30 a.m. The doors will be open at 930 East 50th Street. Go to rainbowpush.org for more information.
Push Excel's goal is to inspire students to strive for excellence in education in spite of personal, family, and community challenges that they might experience. How do we do this? By advocating for educational policies that guarantee equal funding for all students without regard to race or economic standing. By engaging parents, students, and teachers in pursuing high-quality education and striving for educational excellence at every level. And by forging partnerships with community-based and public sector stakeholders in education. Now, Push Excel is a national model program with the purpose of connecting principals, parents, popular personalities, and students in a bond, and to support students at every level on the educational ladder. Now, we want you to become a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition and Push Excel. Your annual membership can help us to change policies that impact students, colleges, and universities all around the country. So step up and sign up today. Membership is only $35, and if you're a student or a senior, $15. Just go to our website, rainbowpush.org, and push join to become a member, or push donate to support the Push Excel program. You can also text the word Push Excel, that's PUSHEXCEL, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give us any amount that you feel comfortable giving, or call us at 773-256-2775. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you. And remember to keep hope alive.
Dr. Kim, I went to jail with a group of 7 students, July 17, 1960, almost 60 years ago. We never stopped moving. I lost a few of jail cells and death. We never stopped moving. I thought it was time to write some of it down so the older generation can learn how we did, and what we did, and how global it was. Whether speaking about Mandela in South Africa, India, Qatar, Gandhi in India, here at home. This book tells the story, so please get it and give it to your friends. Read it, let's argue about it, let's discuss it.
Yep. So the book is Keeping Hope Alive: Sermons and Speeches of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. It's quite a good collection. You know, we've got sermons and speeches from around the globe because you have made such a global impact, not just here in the U.S., but around the world.
Hello, I'm attorney Robert Patillo. I'm the executive director of the Rainbow Push Coalition's Peachtree Street Project here in Atlanta, Georgia. Here to remind you about the upcoming 22nd annual Creating Opportunity Conference here in Atlanta, Georgia on October 14th and 15th of 2021. This conference will be taking place virtually, and we encourage you to register at rainbowpush.org or at creatingopportunityconference.org. This year we'll be honoring Reverend Jesse Jackson and his 80th birthday, as well as highlighting many of the initiatives we've been taking part in this region over the course of the past year. The pandemic has been hard on all of us, but we wanted to show that we are still fighting and moving the ball forward on civil and human rights within the region. We'll have panels including Black farmers and their articulation of what policy considerations need to be done going forward to help encourage that community and increase their productivity and access to federal funding. We'll have a women's roundtable where we discuss issues affecting women, particularly in the current political environment, as well as a youth symposium where we'll be highlighting young entrepreneurs and teens who are working to build the businesses of the future. We'll have an international session where we will be discussing the members of the African diaspora and what's going on in their particular regions and what we here in the U.S. can do to help support those efforts. And also, of course, we'll be celebrating the life, legacy, and birthday of Reverend Jesse Jackson. We encourage all of you to register early as slots are filling up quickly. You can find more information at rainbowpush.org or at creatingopportunitiesconference.org in order to register. Of course, this event is virtual and free, and we encourage you to register now. And please spread the word about the wonderful work we're doing here at the Rainbow Push Coalition Southeast region in the Peachtree Street Project. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to our International Saturday morning broadcast. We need your support. Here are ways to give to Rainbow Push Coalition. Text PUSH, P-U-S-H, to 41444 to support the work of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and Rainbow Push Coalition. When you shop, Amazon gives. Visit Amazon Smile and select Push for Excellence as your charitable organization by starting your shopping at smile.amazon.com.
We are Sanctuary. We are a sanctuary.
When I think of Rainbow Push, I think of two words: social justice.
Education advocacy.
Political empowerment.
Freedom and equality.
Corporate partnership.
Stop the violence. Save the children. Don't get in. Shut it down. If we don't get in, shut it down.
Political change.
Inclusion, evolution.
Progress, justice.
Jesse Jackson.
Keep hope. Keep hope alive. Alive. Keep hope. Keep hope alive. Alive.
We want to be bridges to end these cultural gaps.
We're going forward. By hope. By hope. Not backwards. Not backwards. By fear. By fear.